Hi, welcome to part 3 of the adjective clauses series. This part focuses on reducing adjective clauses. So let's review how to reduce adverb clauses first. In this first example, while I am studying, I listen to music. We have to focus on our adverb clause only. And the first thing we need to consider is, do we have the same subject in both clauses? In this example, because I is my subject in both of the clauses, we do. I can delete the I in the adverb clause, and then I delete the verb to be because I have the present progressive, and then I change my verb to the present participle. However, in this case, studying is already in the present participle. I just leave it, and my sentence becomes, while studying, I listen to music. In the second example, I have after they attended classes all day is my adverb clause. And I check my subjects, students and they, same subject. So I can delete they. I don't have a be verb here, so I need to take my verb attend and put it into the present participle, and it becomes after attending classes all day. So when it comes to reducing adjective clauses, it's important to remember that we're only dealing with the relative pronouns who, which, or that, and that these have to function as the subject of the adjective clause. So to review very quickly what I mean by that is, in this first example, I like movies that have action and romance. That is my relative pronoun. Have is my verb. And in this case then, it is functioning as the subject of my adjective clause. On the other hand, we can also have relative pronouns that function as objects, like in the second example. I like the necklace that Jacob gave me. That is my relative pronoun. However, in this example, it's receiving the action of Jacob giving, and so Jacob is my subject, gave is my verb, that becomes the object. So when we're talking about reducing adjective clauses, we want to ignore those that act as objects and only focus on the ones that act as subjects. All right, so let's talk about what to do with a be verb. So making sure that our relative pronoun functions as a subject first, we want to look at our verb. And if it's a be verb, then the process is pretty simple. All we have to do is delete the subject relative pronoun and delete the be verb. In this first example, my adjective clause is, that was worthy of a king. That is my relative pronoun is the subject, was is my verb, and worthy is my adjective. So the first thing I do is I delete that, my subject relative pronoun, and I delete the be verb. And that's it. Now my sentence becomes, my husband made a dinner worthy of a king. In the second example, my adjective clause is who are playing in the pool, using the present continuous, but it follows the same pattern. So first I have to make sure it's the subject relative pronoun, which it is. Who is my subject, are playing is my verb, and I just delete who and are, and that's it. And my sentence becomes, the teenagers playing in the pool are making a lot of noise. And same thing with the passive voice. So my adjective clause is, that was advertised in the paper. Again, making sure it's the subject, which it is, and was advertised is my verb. I delete that, and I delete was, and I'm left with, she applied for a job advertised in the paper. But what happens if I don't have a be verb? Without a be verb, we still have to delete the subject relative pronoun first, and then we change the verb in the adjective clause only to the present participle. In this example, my adjective clause is, who take this class next year. Who is my subject, take is my verb, and so I can go ahead and delete who. I take the verb take, and I add ing to make it the present participle, and my sentence becomes, students taking this class next year will have to buy the new version of the textbook. In this next example, my adjective clause is, who live in glass houses. Again, who is my subject, live is my verb in my adjective clause. So I can go ahead and delete who and change live to living. So people living in glass houses should not throw stones. And it's important to note that if I have a past tense verb, that I need to put it into the base form of the verb first and then add ing. So when do we reduce adjective clauses? to prove credibility to a source, to add more information to a specific noun, and to give definitions. For example, Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, there's my credibility, and an innovator and creator, adding a little extra information about who he is, often called a visionary, I'm defining him, changed the technological world. So let's look at all three of these a little bit more closely. All right, in giving credibility to sources, my adjective clause here is a psychology professor at Florida State University and the editor of Self-Esteem, The Puzzle of Low Regard. And in this case, without my adjective clause, I don't know who Roy Baumeister is. He could be anybody. And so by including this reduced adjective clause, now what he says has a lot more validity, a lot more credibility. All right, using specific nouns plus a reduced adjective clause. In this example, we're talking about the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. And in these islands, the two major Marshallese dialects are Sunset, which is one specific noun. Here's my reduced adjective clause, the more prestigious dialect spoken in the capital. And Sunrise, my second specific noun. And here's my second reduced adjective clause, a dialect spoken on the Eastern Islands. So I'm just giving more information about these specific nouns. And finally, giving definitions. In this example, I have two reduced clauses here, adjective clauses. One is to define the word as a word worth traveling to New Orleans to get. And the second is to define the term lagniappe. And here's my reduced adjective clause, meaning to get something extra. However, we don't always put the word first. We can sometimes put the definition first, and then the word in our reduced adjective clause. Just like in this example, I have my words that I'm defining as my reduced adjective clauses, and the definition as part of the independent clause. For example, breathing consists of taking air in. Inspiration here is my reduced adjective clause, which would be, which is inspiration, but we deleted the which and the is. And forcing air out is my second definition, and the word that I'm defining is my second reduced adjective clause, expiration, or which is expiration, but we deleted the which and is. In this final example, again, I have my definition first, writing someone else's words without credit, and the word that I'm defining is plagiarism, and it's in my reduced adjective clause called plagiarism. And if it, before we reduced it, would have been which is called, but we deleted the which and the is, and we are left with called plagiarism as the word I'm defining. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for watching.